This program is dedicated to the memory of Isaiah Roberts, Jr., the father of producer Stanley Clark, and those affected by the horrible tragedy at Fort Hood in Texas. On behalf of our producers and supporters, you are in our thoughts and prayers during this difficult time.
The right stuff. Tell me, do you have the right stuff? Do you have the right stuff? The right stuff. The right stuff. Tell me, do you have the right stuff? Do you have the right stuff? The right stuff. The right stuff. Tell me, do you have the right stuff? Do you have the right stuff? The right stuff. The right stuff. Tell me, do you have the right...
Welcome back to The Right Stuff, where we bring you those living their dreams in publishing and share how you can use their tools to be successful in fulfilling your dreams as well. I'm Cyrus Webb, president of Conversations Book Club, host of Conversations Live Radio, and your guide along this wonderful journey. Now, in light of the tragic events that have recently taken place around the country, we decided to move up a special 1-hour presentation planned for later this season called Faith and Literature. Worldwide, people are hurting, and many turn to their faith as a way of coping with the events that are going on around them. Because of that, we wanted to assemble an all-star panel of distinguished individuals who have made a living addressing the good and evil in the world and the role their faith play and how they deal with them, and their readers do the same. It is with great pleasure and humility that I share my conversation with best-selling authors Jerry Jenkins, Evie Rhodes, L.A. Banks, and Jewell Parker Rhodes. Enjoy. We'll be back in a moment. Conversations has spent the past 4 years trying to encourage people to read, and one of the most important topics I think that people find to read about are issues of faith. Now today we have a very diverse panel that's going to be speaking with us about their particular input on faith and literature. They're also going to tell you a little bit about the books that they write and how their writing affects their faith and that of so many others. We're joined by best-selling authors Evie Rhodes, Jewell Parker Rhodes, L.A. Banks, and also Jerry Jenkins. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Good evening.
Yeah.
How are you?
Great. Welcome to Conversations Live. It's great to have all of you on. I think at one time is unprecedented, and I really appreciate the four of you who are coming from so many different, I think, aspects of literature to be able to come together and to talk about this topic of faith and the role of literature. So thank you all so much for being on the program this evening to talk about this with us. Before we get into our topic, though, I would like for you all to tell a little bit about yourself as an introduction, and then we'll go ahead and start our discussion. Why don't we start first with Evie Rhodes? Go ahead, Evie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Evie Rhodes. I've authored Expired, Crisscross, Out of Order, The Forgotten Spirit. And I'm just, happy to be here this evening, and I think this is an excellent topic, so I'm looking forward to participating and exploring all the possibilities.
Thank you so much. Our next guest is Jerry Jenkins. Hello, Jerry. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jerry Jenkins from Colorado Springs. Just had my 175th book published, most known probably for the Left Behind series.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Glad to have you back. And also, go ahead, Jewell.
Hi, I'm Jewell, and you can check out my website, which is my name, jewellparkerrhodes.com, and I write historical fiction, mysteries, and do a lot of work with voodoo, womanist spirituality, and Christianity. And I love to write. So thanks, Cyrus, for having us.
No problem. And last but certainly not least, our friend here, L.A. Banks. Go ahead, L.A.
Oh, hello, and good evening. My name is L.A. Banks, and I have about 35 titles now. Started off in romance and then went to crime and thrillers and wound up doing the paranormal with a faith-based twist to it. So that's me. So I have the Vampire Huntress Legends series.
All right, in L.A., I have to say it was so nice to be able to turn on HBO and to see you in the introduction to the True Blood series there. I said, there's L.A. on there.
Yeah. You're looking good.
5 seconds of fame. Thank you.
Well, thank again all four of you for being a part of this discussion. As I mentioned, during the month of December, a lot of people, especially after Thanksgiving, their thinking does go, to, of course, to the next holiday, which is Christmas. But I think especially we see an emphasis on faith. Jerry, I want to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about how your personal faith has impacted what you've been writing? I know you mentioned that most people know you from the Left Behind series and, of course, the Jesus Chronicles, but you also have written biographies as well as far as other things. So how has your personal faith inspired you and affected your writing?
Well, really, my personal faith is the reason I write. I was a sports writer when I was in high school and thought that would be my career. But I was at a Christian summer camp as a teenager and felt a definite call to full-time Christian work. And I thought that would mean I would have to give up the writing and become a pastor or a missionary. And I didn't feel gifted in those areas, but I was afraid that was what the calling was. And I was pleased to find out that, from my perspective, God sometimes prepares you before he calls you. And really what he was calling me to was to make my writing my full-time Christian service. So most of the books I've written over the years have been Christian books. If it's nonfiction, it's on marriage and family stuff, or it's a biography of Christian athletes, or, I've worked with Billy Graham and some other, famous Christians. And so really it's really an outgrowth of my personal faith. It's really why I write.
Okay, all right. Ellie, the same question for you. You mentioned in your introduction that you also, you began in writing romance, and of course we still find Leslie Banks does very well with her books as well, but you have now, I think, become most known for your Vampire Huntress series. So the same question to you, how has your personal faith impacted what you write because it is so varied?
Oh, I think it has threads and everything, and I have to definitely throw a nod of thanks towards Jerry, because it's interesting how this all comes together for me. I started off writing romances because the very nature of that genre requires that there be a good guy and a really good person, female character, and at some point, they are committed to each other and they wind up getting married or happily ever after, which I really do believe that, this is what, makes people the most happy, and really it's in all the different, faith literature. Then I kind of wound up in doing this vampire series, which is a very bizarre turn, but the way I approached it was that, for my own personal ethos of, there's good and there's evil and there's a struggle, and it's a spiritual struggle. So I sort of had this, made the vampires the bad guys, of course, and, and made the entire series, which I think made it go well, kind of follow biblical scripture in a lot of ways. And that's why I said, Jerry, I really have to take my hat off to you, because you were the one that showed me there was a way to do it and make it easy and interesting and really hook people's imaginations with the things.
Good. That's good to hear. I'll have to send you my address so you can send me some royalties.
Oh, right. So,
be careful, L.A.
Be careful.
Jewell, I have to ask you the same question. Yellow Moon, I think, is definitely a great mixture of what is factual, what is myth, and also the I guess you would say the paranormal as well. For you, though, how has your personal faith affected what you've been writing, especially when it does come to the issue of voodoo?
It's really interesting because my grandpa was